In political jargon, useful idiot is a term for people perceived as propagandists for a cause whose goals they are not fully aware of, and who are used cynically by the leaders of the cause. Attribution, the phrase is often attributed to Lenin. In a 1987 article, American satirist William Safire noted that a Library of Congress librarian had not been able to find the phrase in Lenin's works, a claim bolstered by the book They Never Said It. Russian. Since 1941, in the Russian language, the equivalent term useful fools was already in use in 1941. It was mockingly used against Russian nihilists who, for Polish agents, were said to be no more than useful fools and silly enthusiasts. English. Since 1948, the term has been pejoratively used in the West for fellow travelers and other revolutionary communist sympathizers during the Cold War. The underlying accusation was that, despite the people in question thinking of themselves as standing for a benign socialist ideological cause, and as valued allies of the Soviet Union, they were actually held in contempt and were being cynically used by the Soviets for political purposes. The use of the term in political discourse has since been extended to other alleged propagandists, especially those who are seen to unwittingly support a supposedly malignant cause which they believe to be a just one. Outside of political discourse, the phrase may have started hitting mass audiences in the memoir of actor Alexander Granak, though used in that case about a boyhood incident in a shteyl in western Ukraine. In 1948, New York Times used the term in an article on contemporary Italian politics, citing the social democratic Italian paper La Minuta. The French equivalent, idiots utils, was used in a newspaper article title in 1946. In 1958, Time magazine started to use the phrase. In 1959, the Economic Research Council's journal Economic Digest not only mentions the phrase but attributes it to Lenin. In 1961, the term appears in an American magazine when referring to Jean-Paul Sartre. In 1962, the term appeared in the book Red Herring by retired U.S. Army Colonel Gunter E. Hartl. In 1969, left-leaning American magazine Dissent had begun to use the term. English. Since 2000, a 2010 BBC radio documentary titled Useful Idiots listed among useful idiots of Joseph Stalin several prominent British writers including H. G. Wells and Doris Lessing, the Irish writer George Bernard Shaw, the American journalist Walter Duranty, and the singer Paul Robeson. In 2013 the term was applied several times to the former National Security Administration contractor Edward Snowden. Soon after his leaks of classified materials became public, American critics maintained he was unwittingly helping the governments of China and Russia score a propaganda victory by fleeing from the United States to Hong Kong and, subsequently, Moscow. The accusation followed Snowden to Russia, and gained further adherence after an appearance on Russian state TV during a question-answer program with Russian President Vladimir Putin in April 2014. An American commentator on Russian affairs said that liberals who support Edward Snowden have given succor to the Kremlin as it seeks to crush Ukrainian protesters. Useful innocence, a similar term, useful innocence, appears in Austrian-American economist Ludwig von Mises's Plan Chaos. Von Mises claims the term was used by communists for liberals that von Mises describes as confused and misguided sympathizers. The term useful innocence also appears in a Reader's Digest article titled Yugoslavia's Tragic Lesson to the World, authored by Bogdan Radica, a high-ranking official of the Yugoslav government. Radica says, in the Serbo-Croat language the communists have a phrase for true democrats who consent to collaborate with them for democracy. It is Kiris and Budale, or useful innocence. Book. The phrase also forms the title of a 2003 book by Mona Karen, whose subtitle targets American liberals. See also, Agent of Influence, Congress for Cultural Freedom, Fellow Traveler, Porn, Etymology and Word Usage, Pinko, Quisling. References